let's dive into the next key topic, recording requirements. We'll cover quite a bit here, from the categories of requirements to the importance of documentation. Plus, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of documentation styles, the requirements catalog, and user stories. So settle in comfortably and let's get started. First up, how do you document requirements? Well, there are two main categories: business requirements and solution requirements. Business requirements are high-level needs that relate to the business's overall goals. For instance, if a business wants to improve customer satisfaction, a requirement might be faster customer service response times. Solution requirements are what the system or solution needs to do to meet those business goals. They include functional requirements, like the features or actions the system must perform, and non-functional requirements, which focus on qualities like performance and security. Now, let's discuss the hierarchy of requirements. Picture it like a pyramid. At the top, you've got objectives. These are the big picture goals, like increasing market share. From these objectives, you derive business requirements, which are more detailed. These can be general, like a target for customer growth, or technical, like needing a new CRM system. Finally, you get to solution requirements, where we specify what the system needs to do, like processing customer orders in under 30 seconds. So objectives lead to business requirements, which then shape the solution requirements. All right, moving on to business objectives and solution delivery. Imagine this as a flow from the business's top goals to the final product. Your business objectives lead to business requirements. Think of them as the what the business needs. Then these guide your solution requirements, which are the how we're going to achieve it. For example, if your goal is to reduce costs, your business requirement might be to streamline supply chain processes, which then leads to solution requirements for automating certain parts of the supply chain. Let's zoom in on business general requirements. Here's where you consider things like business constraints, budget, time, business policies, standards, rules, and legal requirements, laws and regulations. For instance, if you're working with sensitive data, one of your general requirements could be complying with GDPR. There's also branding, keeping things on brand, cultural factors, and even language considerations. Each of these is crucial to ensuring the business runs smoothly and stays on track. Now, let's talk technical requirements. These are all about the hardware, software, and interfaces your business needs. For example, if your company needs a high-speed network, that's a technical requirement. Or if you're developing software, you'll need to think about the operating systems it has to support and how it will communicate with other systems. Moving on to solution requirements. These tell us what the system needs to do, whether it's functional, like processing payments, or non-functional, like ensuring the system is secure and can handle high traffic. For example, a functional requirement might be that the system needs to accept credit card payments. A non-functional requirement could be that it must process these payments securely with data encryption. When it comes to functional requirements, these cover four main areas: data entry, data maintenance, procedural, and retrieval requirements. For example, data entry is all about gathering and recording information, like capturing customer details when they place an order. Data maintenance involves keeping this data accurate and up to date. And what about non-functional requirements? These are all about how the system operates. For instance, performance requirements might dictate that the system needs to respond to user requests within 2 seconds, or consider security. This could involve setting up strict access controls to protect sensitive customer data. Then there's backup and recovery, ensuring data isn't lost, and availability, which ensures the system is up and running when users need it. Now, let's talk documentation. Why bother with it? Well, it's crucial for consistency, communication, and validation. Plus, it helps during development. There are different documentation styles: text-based, like requirements catalogs and user stories, and diagrammatic, like data models and use case models. For example, a requirements catalog lists out all the needs in a structured way. Meanwhile, a data model shows how information flows and connects within the system. When documenting requirements, remember to capture key characteristics like ID, version, author, and date. This ensures you can track the requirements throughout the project. For instance, if you've got a requirement for the system to handle customer orders, you'll want to assign it an ID and track any changes made to it. That way, if someone needs to trace back to the original requirement, they can do so easily. Lastly, let's discuss user stories. In Agile, a user story is a simple way to capture what the user needs from the system. It usually follows this format as a role I want to feature so that I can go. For example, as a customer, I want to receive order confirmation emails so that I know my order was successful. User stories help keep things clear and focused, ensuring that the final product meets the user's needs. And that's a wrap on Chapter 3. Up next, we're moving into building models and prototypes to represent the requirements. Stick around, it's going to be interesting. Before you go, let's do a quick exercise. Answer these based on what you've learned. Categories of requirement. Name the 2 primary categories of requirements and give an example of each. Hierarchy of requirements. Explain the relationship between business objectives, business requirements, and solution requirements. Non-functional requirements, NFRs. Provide one example of a non-functional requirement and explain its importance. User stories. Write a simple user story using the template as a role I want to feature so that I can go. Documentation styles. What are the 2 main styles of documentation mentioned? Provide a brief description of each.